demonstration of my AWS assignment. So basically, we're going to start off going into the IAM web service, which basically is just where we check the roles. So in here, the only role that I'm using is this lab role that's been already created, and I'm just checking that it's there before I started doing anything. But yeah, that basically just assigns the roles to everything and is already there. Then basically we start off by creating a virtual private cloud in this VPS service, which is basically the thing that houses everything else, and everything else is within the virtual private cloud. So the one that I created was, so there's two, but this one's the correct one, the virtual private cloud. And then basically inside of this VPS, we created a security group, which is this one, web security group, and that's within the virtual private cloud. And then basically creating a web server within the virtual private cloud again. And this is sort of the things that connects to the web, and everything else sort of connects to the instance. And so at first we just had this web server 1, which I created as well. And then basically we connect that to the security group as well. So if we go here, then you can see security group. So if you go to the security tab, it has this web security group, so it's connected to that one. And then basically we're creating a feature within that like sort of instance called, and it's within the Lambda service, and the feature is called new function. And basically what the function does is it uses Python code to sort of run a specific thing, and in this case it's a testing whether an email is a valid email. So this is what it looks like, and basically what it does is when you run for example, testing this email, which is the correct email, then it outputs that the email is valid. And if it's not valid, for example, if it doesn't have an @ then it says invalid. So it uses this regex line to check that. And basically this can be used in my business to sort of input, like to put in the user's emails into the system, and then uses that to connect different book lovers with each other. And so this can test whether they have actually a valid email as they're putting that in. That then gets connected to the EZ2 instance, and basically for mine it doesn't actually work properly. So the idea is that you have the instance and you run it on the like web with an IP address, and then basically this one, and then when you run it, it's meant to show the function. So mine doesn't properly work, so it just displays this when I do that. But yeah, and then basically the next thing that we're doing is updating the infrastructure of this instance. So at the start, I had the instance type as t2.micro, and then I've changed that to small. And it's also, I've enabled like termination protection. So if I go, for example, terminate, then it says it's enabled, and when I try to terminate it, it just says it's not, you can't terminate it, which keeps you from like it just deleting on its own, sort of, or someone deleting it without knowing what they're doing. Yeah, and then basically the instance type is just to have a more powerful version to use. And then basically also I've monitored some of the so the other thing I was able to do is if you go into this CloudWatch service as well, and you click on this dashboard that was created, you can sort of see some of what's going on with the different aspects of the web server as well. And then basically another thing that I did was creating an EBS as well, a volume, basically an elastic block store volume, And then so creating this one and then connecting that to the EC2 instance as well. And then after that, just configuring a system and then creating a database as well. So if you go into this service, Aurora and RDS, I've created a database system in here. And basically this is then connected as well to the EC2 instance. So if you go there, you can see that it's on the VPS, and it's got the a new security group, the database security group, and then it's also down here connected to this EC2 security group, and all of that as well. And then I've also just connected it here to the EC2 instance as well. And then basically after that, there was just a couple things that I could do to like improve scalability. And so basically for that, what I did was creating an auto scaling group. And to do that, I had to create a load balancer as well and a target group. And then basically, where is the auto scaling group? Down here. This one, and then basically what that does is it kind of expands the amount of instances based on the traffic of the flow of traffic. And so for example, now we've got 2 project instances, and then at certain times it'll increase to 4 or sometimes 6, and then we've still got obviously the normal web server one as well. And yeah, that just basically means it adapts and stuff like that. And then obviously we've got the load balancer down here, which is this one, and then also the target groups as well, or target group as well. And then yeah, basically what I learned mostly was how the different components of like AWS services work together and how they kind of influence one another. And then also, yeah, so how that actually helps and benefits being able to sort of create a website and manage a company and stuff like that. And then some challenges that I had mainly was around the function, the new function that I created, the one for the email addresses. It would just like, it's not working obviously clearly still. It's not doing exactly what it's meant to. And so just sort of, I guess, working with that. I think if I did have more time, I would probably be able to research a few other ways that I could be able to fix that. But yeah, it wasn't fully displaying everything, but it's still there. Yeah, there were some struggles at the start logging into the database as well. Like with the login details, there were some problems with that as well. And then I think just sort of figuring out as I was going what sorts of things to use directly from like previous knowledge, and which things to sort of adapt to the specific situation, and how to sort of integrate everything together and not just have the elements separately. But yeah, I think that's all. I think I overcame the challenge, mainly the function challenge didn't really, but I could have possibly with more research and more time. And then the like challenges regarding like the integration of different parts, I feel like I overcame that by just familiarizing myself more with the different components, and also sort of trial and error and seeing what things did what sort of have had what outcomes. I think helped me to understand what the different components were actually doing and how they were impacting one another. Yeah.